We'll just give it another minute. Okay, I think we can get started. Diane said, my gosh, am I having issues with the audio again? I just used Zoom last week or yesterday and it was fine. Can you hear me now? I don't know what that is. Okay. So I'll call the meeting to order. Diane said she was going to be a little bit late. And if you noticed in the chat, John unfortunately has a sick daughter. So he is here, but is just going to hang back a little so he can make sure she's okay. So as we mentioned last month, we're going to shift our focus over to the annual report and our recommendations for that. So we want to make sure that we have enough time today to talk about that. So what I'm proposing is that we kind of go through our reports quickly. So we can all read, so we should know what's in the reports. And when we get to you, if you have anything that you want to make note of, you want to talk about, you have the opportunity to do so, and then we'll open it for questions. And I think we're going to try to limit the reports to about a half hour, just so we can have ample time to get through to talking about the recommendations. And if my audio goes out again, just somebody wave your hand or something, let me know, because it's a little dicey over here. Okay, John, do you have anything you want to add?
No, thanks. I'm all good. Let's
Okay.
started. Thanks.
All right. So I believe we have two meeting minutes to approve. Is that correct? August and September. Brianne?
Yes, sorry, I
Yes,
believe
okay.
so.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure. Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the August meeting minutes? Do we have any discussion on August meeting minutes? All right, do we have any, am I not hearing, or do I have no response?
Maureen, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the August.
Thank you.
You're all
I can't tell, everyone's screen, or most people's screens are off. I can't tell if you can't hear me or, okay, second, please.
This is Farah. I'll second.
You, Farah. Okay, all approved? All in favor, sorry. Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we accept the August minutes, and now September. Motion.
Oh, motion, Maureen.
Thank you, Becky. Second.
I'll second, Maureen.
Thank you. All in favor to approve the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, so we are gonna start off with Becky, and I understand you don't always have things to report, so if you need to take a little more time to go through your report, that's, you know.
Sure. I did supply an updated report in writing. I don't know if y'all received that copy. So I basically, we just had 6 referrals, 5 from New Motion, 1 from NSM, 5 complaints were closed this month. Most reported issues, I'm just going to read through them because they're kind of quick. I don't have a lot to say, so I think I can do it really fast. Scheduling in-home repair options, communication, timeline for parts. One additional issue that raised that I didn't put in the report because it doesn't have to really deal with repairs, so I just thought the council should be aware of, is community advocacy, which falls outside the repairs, but that's really come up a lot. So that's a big issue. The most repairs needed are brakes, joysticks, tilt, battery, foot pad rest. That's what's been reported to me. And then this about OHA, our update is that new motion and NSM HIPAA release forms will be uploaded and accessible soon on our OHA website. They're still not. We're still working with IT. So it's just an issue of getting them online, but they are created. And consumers can now access and file a wheelchair repair complaint on the OHA website, and can also file the complaint directly online. But also, I didn't add this either. I just want to add it to make sure everybody's still aware that you could still do it through email or also calling in on the number, or OHA number. And I wanted to report something favorably that wasn't in our report, that OHA has done some research over the last month. I went to the Access Health Conference, and I met with all the table distributors, and I passed out my card, and I let them know about the Wheelchair Council and that they can make reports about any repairs to OHA. And I had some great conversations with people from Hartford Healthcare, and from even the Department of Public Health was really excited to hear about that, and we made connections. And lastly, I just wanted to say a thank you to Gary, who's been continuously accessible for me. Whenever I reached out, he got right in right away and was able to come up with an outcome really fast for the consumer who filed the complaint. So thank you for that. And I'll open up to any questions. No questions. Okay.
Looks like there's no questions. My question for you, the community advocacy, what do you mean by, what is
Community
that?
advocacy. Well, someone to advocate. So when they're in the community, I'm hearing a lot about discrimination sort of issues, and they just need somebody to kind of help them advocate for certain things, like for in school settings and the like. For instance, I just recently talked to a mom whose child she believes is being harassed, and only because of it's a wheelchair issue, right? About how the wheelchair is created, and this woman, the child is nonverbal, so she can't report, but her mental capacity has gone downhill, and it's all because of these wheelchair. It has to do with wheelchair repairs rather, but yet I'm hearing that the teachers are talking behind her back because they're upset, or the physical therapist, and then mom's saying things, and so different things like that. Like, how do you get the mom to advocate, and things along those lines? Who can be an advocate? So that's not something that we would do at OHA, because it doesn't have to deal with the initial repair, and the long-term repair outcome. However, it is something that I think people need. They need a camaraderie person to go along with them, or talk things through, or how can they advocate for themselves? What can they do? What rights do they have? That kind of thing. So that's come up. And then also, I have a question for y'all too after that. You just made me think of something. If there's anything else that you'd like me to add to the report that I'm giving, just let me know too. But I tried to put something in writing this month just so that we'd have it and we'd have a record of it, and you'd have it as a resource.
Great. And I'm so excited to hear that your form is online now. We'll pass that along in our meetings. Sheldon has a question.
I can't hear it, Sheldon.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I had a question about what you're hearing related to the ongoing issue, particularly with the new motion of people being told to come into the shop for their repairs.
Well, it seems like a lot of people don't know they have a right to in-home repair. So the ones I've just spoken to recently, it seems as though it's been hard for them to get that option. And sometimes it's to go into the shop. However, after further communication and talking it through, they've been able to get the help in the home. But it seems to be that it sounds as if recently that there's been some calls in and they didn't know that they could have that option. Sometimes the first option was to go into the shop, and then once they asked, but I really can't get there, then it got into a conversation about, okay, then you can come, we can come to the home. But it's been a lot of people have reported that it's difficult, and they wish they had a resource, and that is meant to, that's just come up recently as far as that's been reported a little bit more often, specifically about that issue. And I guess before in the past they've been able to call the store. Maybe Gary, I don't know if there's a way to call, like for instance, it's Rocky Hill, right? I think where your office is. If there's a point person or something like that, or but it, so I guess where the issue comes into where they want to call Rocky Hill is that they have a question, because sometimes there'll be an appointment scheduled and there's a part there. However, they want to pick it up in the shop. That's what the device is, to come pick it up in the shop, but they want to have it in their home instead. So that's just become an issue where people are reporting it more often.
Thanks. I mean, we'll be talking to Gary about this because last time we made a very, very explicit request, and it's in the minutes about what the request is. So we'll see what he has to say on that. But
it's also scheduling too. So it's a scheduling issue, right? Is that's what I guess that's where the initiative is like, if you come in, maybe we could do it a little sooner, but then, they can't get it done sooner. But so that's where the scheduling and in-home options and the communication, they just wish they had some more communication where they had a point person, because I guess they jump around a little bit from person to person to person. But some people actually, though, have a point person. So it's conflicting in a way where some people have a direct point person that they only speak to, and then others have where they're sent from off, like a person to person, depending on what their need is, whether or not it's a repair or if it's a sale or if it's a different type of other service. It's rehab, right, or something along those lines. So
yeah, I'll address that one during my report. Okay,
so
happy to do.
what I would appreciate further though is, are you saying that you're getting calls, you're having communication with consumers, and this is not inconsistent for a lot of other people, but you are getting calls as well where the people are saying they weren't told about the in-home option, and only after you told them about it, then they advocate for themselves and then get it? Is that accurate?
some of the callers, yes, that's what they're saying, that they didn't realize at first that they had that option, and then they found out about the law, and then they questioned it, and then they were told. So there are 2 out of the 5 on this list that reported that consistently and said that. So
Okay, so basically 40% of 5 people, and there's 5,000, 2,500 new motion customers. But
That's not a fair extrapolation, Sheldon. I'm sorry. I mean,
how many
yeah,
customers do you have?
I don't have the exact number in front of me, but I'm not going to extrapolate that. I'm not going to allow it to be extrapolated. That's not, I can tell you what we're doing to address it, and I'll be happy to address that in my report. I don't want to take Becky's time to do that.
Anyway, but thank you, Becky, for elaborating, and clearly that of the 5 calls you've gotten, 2 of them said consistently they were not told by New Motion about the option of in-home. Thanks.
Hey, David?
Had a question for Becky. Did you get any similar concerns or complaints about National Seeing Mobility about this sort of thing about not being told or not understanding that they have, the ability to have someone come to the home?
well, only this month I have 1 complaint through NSM. So honestly, I don't know if they're just not hearing about it, or they don't know about the laws, or what's going on. But it seems that I only had 1 case, and in that case, that wasn't an issue. That didn't come up. But that also, they were already in the home, so it wasn't something along those lines of that issue came up.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, thank you, Becky. Again, it's really good to hear that you have the form online, and we'll pass that along. And also, maybe we can talk offline about the repair adjacent issues that come up. We, as advocates, get some of those too. And I hate leaving people hanging if we can direct them somewhere. So maybe, I don't know how you're handling them, but maybe, we could talk about that at some point.
That would definitely be helpful for me to know, and that way I could give them as a resource too, or share
Right.
that
That's,
information.
yeah.
So I appreciate that. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you. Okay, we do have new motion next. Are there any objections if we do NSM first? NSM first. Okay. Diane. So Diane, you weren't here in the beginning. So we're not going over the report. We're going to be talking about recommendations. So we're going to do a streamlined reporting. You don't have to give your report, just anything you want to point out, and then we're opening the floor for questions.
Yeah, just a couple, and I apologize, I got a little bit of a sinus thing going on here too. So just, we shortfalled a little bit, we always want to make sure we're above 90%. In September, we did have a little bit of a shortfall. Some of it was scheduling, just alignments on a couple of misses. Some of them was like, some of it remote too, when we're talking about delivery of product to the client's home who just wanted something delivered to them. We missed a deadline on a couple of those. But we're back up like in this month in the 90s again. Still have, one in the shop still due to medical, we're one short on the road right now. So that also contributed last month, and we can't, overhire because technically they're on medical limitations for working in the shop at this point in time. But I'm hoping we're back to full throws for the month of October's report. We do have some things we're working on with our centralized calling system, some retraining we're doing if anything gets sent into our Chattanooga office for our customer service lines, to some of the points that are being brought up today. And then I'm looking at, the only other thing too is our receipt of parts from manufacturer was 2 days longer this past month than it was before. So that was something we had a conversation with some of our manufacturers on. Typically it's been 4 to 5 days we're getting stuff. Went up to 6 days, which also kind of contributed to missing that 10-day window. But even the ones that we fell short, for that, even though it was like 86% compliance, it was really within 2 days that we fell short. So it wasn't like we're adding on exorbitant amount of time past that 10-day window. But again, we know what the guideline is, and that's where we're at with that. So we know this month coming up, we're in fourth quarter, and fourth quarter gets extremely busy for us because a lot of clients are trying to also get their new equipment before their co-pays go up, and then at the end of the year. So I'm anticipating it's going to be a little bit heavier volume or challenges going into November and December. Just in anticipation of that, I always like to share that with the group because this happens every year. We see that cycle. Yeah, so those are just some of the key things from my report that I kind of noticed. Why do we fall below that 90 percentile that we've been hitting pretty consistently every month? But I looked at this past weeks too, we're at like 92, 93 right now. So hopefully, you're going to have those fluctuations too with staffing and just life in general, unfortunately. But yeah, those are the things. So I'll just open it up as people have specific, excuse me, questions that they want to ask.
David.
Hi, so kind of going along with the questions of when people call,
Mhm.
do you have a script for your customer service when people call, when people are trying to schedule? So are your customer, because I don't have you as a company, I have New Motion. So when people call, do you have a script set up, and is part of that script you ask, do you ask, like, do you want your repair done in the home or in the shop, or do you only
Yeah,
offer in
we have
shop? How do you do
all of
that?
them. Yeah, we do all steps. We walk through all of it. That's part of the thing that's in our scripts now, saying, hey, okay, we did this. Are you able to come to branch? Okay, do you need us to come to your home? Can we do a remote diagnostic with you first? So they're going to ask all three.
Okay,
So
so
they'll ask all
you
of
offer
them.
both at the same time.
Yeah, they'll do it in
So
the
just
same.
that,
Yep,
okay.
they should be, because
So
that's the
that people
change that we
understand
put
they
in the
have the
system.
right for someone to come
Yep.
out. So there's no confusion, or I don't know, I didn't understand. They're like, it's clear, people are understood. All right. Thank you very much.
Yep. The one thing I will say though, David and team, because we're getting a lot of calls on scooter repairs, that's one thing we do ask if you have a scooter, because scooter, you typically have much more mobility. It's not, it's a community use item. We do ask to prioritize that to the branches if we can. We do ask that of the customer only because the time that these scooters take and no one else seems to be doing them. We're getting inundated with them. Those things I have been instructed in the field that they're trying to work around those as much as they can. Because typically most people who are using scooters are using a community use. They have more mobility compared to some others, whereas our complex chairs. So that's one thing that we had to look at because we're seeing how these things are coming up. It's been a challenge. So that's one thing of concern I have. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, which I just went back to my notes here for today's meeting, is one concern I have. We do a lot of SNF business in the state. We are down now in the state because of the state law. And Sheldon, I know I talked to you about this way back when CRT got picked up in the SNFs back in the 80s or 90s, whenever that bill went in or that law went in, it states you have to have a physiatrist do the evaluations and write the orders for services. We are down now in the state to one physiatrist covering SNF facilities. There's going to be an access issue here soon once the other one goes. There's nobody else picking them up. So I just want this committee to be aware of that. And there might be issues coming down the road for timelines for those clients who are in SNFs. Now, I don't know if everybody's aware of that. So, excuse me.
Are you required to have the physiatrist for the prescription or?
They're the overview. That's what it is. If you're going to get any CRT services in a SNF, you must have an evaluation done and completed by the physiatrist. Sometimes I think we can get by with the scripts, though, coming for repairs from the facility staff. But at the end of the day, you still have to, anything that gets some renewals, if that person gets something else done or have to get something replaced, they still have to have a physiatrist on staff.
Okay, Sheldon.
Yeah, thanks, Diane. Yeah, this is a real concern.
Yeah.
What
And we brought this up, sorry, Sheldon, we brought this up. I brought this up at the hearing last year that we were on for the Medicaid, because I brought this up in the policy back then. It was during the DME hearing last, God, how long ago was that now? A long time ago. It seems like almost a year. But anyways, yeah, it is a concern. So go ahead. Sorry, Sheldon.
Well, so I'm just trying to understand the distinction in terms of the rule being imposed. This is DSS, right? We're talking about this is for Medicaid.
Well, it's an actual state bill, state law that went into play to allow for the coverage back in, God, how long ago? What I want to say 80s and 90s when that went in. And it's under and it is under the Medicaid plan. You have to have a physiatrist for the SNF orders.
Right. I didn't know it was beyond Medicaid. That was
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the distinction between the original prescription for the device, the new device, versus repairs, you're saying that even for repairs, you can't have an MD or other, it has to be specifically.
No, it doesn't say that. It's not clear, but I'm concerned, Sheldon, that down the road, if it isn't a physiatrist that's doing our access for that, we'll get denied at the claim side. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It hasn't happened yet, but you're
not that we don't, because we still have one left in the state.
Well, I know, but if it's only one person, I mean,
exactly.
You know, but I guess what I'm asking, are the requests going in where they have to? Wait a minute, we don't need prior auth.
We don't need them right now, and that's what I'm saying, Sheldon. So when you get down the road, though, if we get replacement equipment for those clients or anything of that nature, we're going to be in a pickle. I just want this committee to be aware, because it's not just, down the road, we're facing a possible shortage and a delay of services for those clients in the SNFs.
Okay, but this is specifically for new equipment, which we care about too, obviously. But
yeah, but I mean, regardless of that, down the road, if you're down to one physiatrist in the state now, that's not good. Yeah. I mean, this is a committee not just for this. These are part of the things I want us to address too, for recommendations. We need to get rid of that antiquated. I understand when it went in years and years and years ago, because you want a physiatrist or an orthopedic reviewing for those nuances back then, but that's not necessary now. You don't need it for the state. You don't need it for CMS. You need a person that's authorized to do those. But anyways, I just want this committee to understand. So if you hear things and down the road, you know why.
Yeah. I did have one other question. I'm sorry, about the report. Uh, so just so you did drop to 86% this
Yep.
last time. I didn't check, but you're showing your average time for in-home is 40 days. Of course, that includes the time that doesn't count waiting for parts and waiting for
Right.
prior
Right.
but has that been what it's mostly been? 40, in that range
Oh,
forever?
that was a little bit of a jump. We've been averaging, when I went back and pulled our transactor cycle time for the state overall, including wait time for parts or anything if we did have to get a prior off from the primary insurance, we've been averaging around 22 to 23.
Okay.
So that was just, when I looked at that, it looks like, and I went back and looked at the dates on that, and we looked at the remote, we looked at the in-branch, we don't get many in-branch repairs finalized. The dates were out a little bit. So I went back and rechecked that because I want to make sure we're not missing something. So that's why it looked like it got skewed a little bit when I saw that we dropped. But most of the time when I went back and I'm looking, Sheldon, we're averaging right around 22 to 23 days with everything included.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Daryl.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Becky, for your overview too, as well. Diane, Gary. In reference to the SNF, I don't want to drag that out too much longer. That's only if there's change of medical status or any other functional deficits, correct? Or is this related to how long is this script eligible for when somebody
Well,
purchases?
yeah, you got to remember, if you got a script that's eligible for 5 years and they got to get a renewal, this has to come from a physiatrist.
Yeah. And I think that's where the rehab staff and they will be in
Yeah.
connection too as well.
Yeah, I just
to have
want
that.
people to be aware because I just got told the other physiatrist in the state retired finally. So I'm like, dang
Okay.
it.
Gotcha. No, definitely. And thank you for being transparent, with your phone script in training that way, because I think that's really important. We've emphasized that in many meetings on just making sure that we're offering both in home as well as, at the clinic at the site. Okay. Thanks.
David,
Anybody?
you had your hand up. Do you still have a question? No. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I have two questions that came up from non-council advocates. And so this is really for both Diane and Gary. And I think this is probably the best time to bring it up. Okay, so first thing that had come up is a question about your policy for notifying customers about when the tech is coming to the home. We have some people who report that they're getting it too late in the day and it's hard for them to schedule for their PCA if that's something they need to do. So what are your policies for that? And is there any way that you can get them out earlier in your estimation?
Well, normally ours is we typically call to validate and leave voicemail. So we don't book it until the client gets back to us and confirms the appointment date. So, and if they don't confirm it, we push it out and then we call them back and say, your appointment, you did not confirm, we're rescheduled. Will this work? So we want to make sure the person gets back to us. Now, if we have from the client, their preferred confirmation is via email, then we'll try to do it via email to get confirmation for time. And then we also are starting to implement some texting if that's the way the person wants to text. So it depends on how the person is set up in the system to receive their communication back. But typically we try to make sure as soon as we get it, we give a date. And then if they're supposed to, 2 days out, reconfirm. Does that always happen with our texts? I know it doesn't always happen because they're out and about, but that should be happening that way. But I will take back and pull the exact policy for our next meeting.
And is that, so it's 2 days out for the date, but the time, is there a window that you give them or, um,
Usually the window's pretty big though, Maureen.
yeah,
I think it's going to be either afternoon or morning time between, because the problem's going to be depending what it is to repair and how long that repair takes and then the travel time between.
yeah,
And let's just face it, not everything happens super clean as we hope when we go into an appointment, and we may need to stay there longer and it gets pushed. Typically, there's going to be a window, just for the nature of the scheduling and what's being done and the travel time between clients. I don't know if you want Gary to go ahead and answer in turn.
No, very much similar to that. And we, we're utilizing text, but that's assuming we have a good phone number from somebody. I mean, we can't do that in a sniff and places like that because it doesn't work. But, we offer pretty big windows for times of day, just because of traffic and things like that. And like Diane said, depending on what repairs they have during that day, they might be doing a motor change and the stop prior. So we try and allow enough time for things to get done. But we do try and be flexible with that.
okay. So if someone has a problem that they need to schedule their PCA to help them get out of the chair, they should just probably tell or whoever is scheduling the appointment that they have this constraint. Okay.
Yes.
Right, thank you. David, do you have a question relating to this
Yes.
or? Okay,
Yeah.
go
So
ahead.
for Diane, so when you set up the appointment, it's done, you're saying 2 days before, or is it earlier than that? You said.
Well, if you're calling and if you get the person live, hopefully they're scheduling for you right then and there and telling you, okay, I have this day open. We'll just
Okay.
work with you,
So you
right?
got the date set, but so
Yes.
when do you notify this window of time that you set up? When do you get that notification?
They should be given it like 2 days prior or confirming the
days.
day before on that or confirming the day before. And
Day
if they're
before.
not doing, yep, or confirming the day before, the CSRs or the
Uh,
text will actually go back and
Do you,
confirm.
do you have a set time that the people are notified of the window of time that they're going to be having for the repair the next day?
I don't know about that one for sure, David. That's a question for me to go back to the team and ask that question. But they should be confirming a window time, one confirming the day and then confirming beforehand because they got to validate you're still going to be there. There should be.
So I mean, because
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
with Gary, I mean, I know because I have new motion, and so the way it is that you set the appointment, and then you're supposed to get a text the day prior, and it's usually at 5 o'clock. Actually, this past time for repair, I didn't get a text at all, and that caused some confusion with one of my repairs. I ended up getting a call or something the next day. So the tech calls the next day, when they're kind of close by, which is good. Do you guys do that? So does National Sea Mobility, do you call the same day, like, hey, we're going to be there in like 30 minutes, be ready kind of thing? Do you do that?
They're supposed to be. They're supposed to be notifying you when they're en route to you too.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would love to know whoever's NSM client. I mean, I don't know, Joe, if you're an NSM or not. I would love to hear because if not, I need to know that too, so I can go back and ask those questions for our training components too on that. So I know our techs they're supposed to be reaching out to the client too throughout the day. Say, let's say we did give you a window. If they're running late, they're supposed to notify the client. Hey, we're running behind. Is this still going to work? Those things should be occurring that way. But I'm going to take it back to revalidate that from our field team because I know what this kind of should be happening, but I don't want to speak fully on this. So this is a good question for me to take back.
I brought something up. Gary, did you want to say anything about the issues with people getting notifications? And are you trying to like maybe push it out earlier so people have maybe a little more notification? Because sometimes getting a notice at 5 o'clock the day prior, that may, like, say for instance you have like a first appointment in the morning and someone has a CNA, and they need to like schedule things with people to get them up and help them out. Is there a way to I guess, make it a more cleaner, sort of more
Yeah.
customer friendly approach to this? Because, not everyone can just jump in and out of their chairs. Some people do require help.
No, that's something I can take back, David. I don't know why you didn't get your text. There's the texts are supposed to be going out, but again, we can talk about when those texts are happening and whether we can provide a little more. I have to talk to other people about that. I can't give you an answer on that, but I can take that back and see if we can change that.
Thank you.
Just looking in the chat. Yep. Farah just said that she has had good experience with NSM. Joe.
I was actually going to comment on the same thing that David had spoke about with getting the text ahead of time. It's nice to get it the day before and have a window, and it is understandable that you have to have a very large window, and that was always a problem in the past. But getting that text, saying, okay, that the tech is on his way so that you can make arrangements. I mean, most of the time, I myself, I usually end up transferring into a different chair in my garage because there's no way of letting them into my house. And they're not going to just come walking in with a bunch of dogs. But in the same sense, it gives you a little bit of a heads up. I know um, the last time I didn't get the text ahead of time. I knew he was coming, so it didn't really matter. But it was. I was curious to see what your response was, whether it was the tech that was responsible for sending that text, or
No, that's automated. That's automated. And I gotta, yeah.
that's what he had. That's what he had said. He's like, oh, I don't know why the system should have sent you a notification. And then when Diane was talking, she said it was the tech that usually does that. So I wasn't sure if it was a system error or if it was a.
I think there's a difference between when the text comes out and the tech calling ahead of the appointment.
Oh,
It's like our techs are supposed to be calling on their way and letting you know they're en route. Yeah.
that's another thing, Gary. I don't know if this is possible or not, and I don't know if NSM, if you could speak to this, Diane, but I get so many spam calls in a day that unless it's a number that I recognize, I do not answer it. And whenever New Motion calls me to let me know that they're on their way or try to make an appointment, 9 times out of 10, I don't answer it. I'll usually get a voicemail, then I'll call back and I'll get routed to somebody who has no idea what's going on. Is there any way for it to show up as New Motion or NSM?
Ours does. We had ours changed with our new phone system. We switched over 2 months ago to a new phone system, and that was one of our concerns that we heard because people were not. I don't either. I got robot killer on my phone, right? So it's going to screen you. So now we have it where it comes across. You should be seeing National Seating and Mobility show up on the screen from the numbers that we use to call out.
We are working on that. It's a problem we are aware of. It's something we are actively trying to change in our system, and it has something to do with owning the numbers. And because a lot of the numbers we have are old numbers from old companies, and some of them even have other businesses' names on them. So we're trying to work with our phone carriers to own the numbers and to be able to have everything say New Motion when it comes up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that'll streamline the process a lot better than having to do the phone tag thing because
Yeah.
you're calling one person and then you're having to wait for them to call you back and they don't know who they're asking for. And just that simple idea of having a name to the number would streamline
Yep.
the process.
We're working as fast as we can to fix that. We would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for a side comment, I know NSM, client myself. where I would get a text alert as well as a call. So, that call is roughly between 15 to 30 minutes before showing up. Luckily, I have a backup chair and I could, kind of keep one chair maintained. But when I am in one of those hard down situations, it's tough. And, if it's for someone that cannot be mobile and cannot get around, I think those, hard down situations, sometimes having those 4 or 6 hour windows are tough, for somebody that's working full time. In reference to, yeah, I do think, the documentation status and the tracking on my NSM order does help me out personally. So, it's my 2 cents.
Right, thanks. I'm very cognizant of the time. I do have one other question. This came up, both of you, Gary and Diane, have mentioned some delays with the manufacturer. If you could let me know if you think this is a temporary thing, or maybe you don't know. Also, Gary, you had mentioned that the manufacturers seem to be using cheaper parts, and I'm wondering if batteries is included in this, because we have 6 people who complain about new batteries not holding their charge, myself included. So just both Diane and Gary, just want to know your thoughts on that.
I just chimed in on that too. I also received complaints about the batteries not holding up, where someone had it like they could go so far and it would be 87 and now it's about 65, and so it's restricting their travel and their outings.
We are seeing a spike in battery warranty replacements. We are generally replacing them without question. Becky, the incident you brought to me, we're swapping those out. I mean, we are, and it's inconsistency in the manufacturer. Sometimes we'll go 6-8 months and not have any problems. And this is, who we're buying our batteries through. It's a pretty reliable company. We, in general, we have good experience, but every once in a while they go through a batch of batteries that we end up swapping out. On other parts, we're seeing some issues. What we're seeing a lot of is wrong parts shipped. And we'll give them the serial number of the chair, we'll give them the part number, we'll give them everything, and they ship us the wrong thing. And one of the, that's one of the advantages to what we're doing, which is we're stocking a ton more parts now. This is what's helping our turnaround times a lot, because we don't have to get quotes now for it. We have the part in stock. We have the invoice for the part, so we can verify our pricing. We don't have to wait for that quote to come back from the manufacturer. And then also on the back end, we don't have to wait for the day that it usually takes for us to receive it into our system. So we're saving 3 or 4 days there. But on the flip side, I am seeing a jump up of about 2 days in manufacturer turnaround times when we do order parts.
So the best course of action if someone has a new battery and is draining quickly is just to call in and ask for it to be replaced.
We'll replace it.
Yeah, we want to make sure too, though, Maureen, that people are charging correctly too. It could be
Yeah.
something else. It could be a bad cable. It could be something else too. But I mean, they'll still have to rule out, like you do with any type of warranty work, right? The manufacturer's going to ask us to revalidate all those type of things before they'll just automatically swap it. But I'll take that back to my supply chain leadership group and ask them about that also. I know we've had a couple of those that did come in on complaints on batteries and that, and just we'll look into those, because I had 2 of them that I saw.
Yeah, I
last
wasn't
month.
sure if it was just a coincidence or if there's an uptick.
Yeah, and it could be various things that are contributing to, and I don't know what supply side, why the manufacturers, what happened. I mean, it's nothing to do with the government shutdown for shipments. They're still coming in. It's not like it's something crazy that's going on in the field. It's just some blips that we run into. But that's just not here nor there. But I like I said, we'll take it back to internally and find out what it is. If there's a certain, maybe we all got a bad cargo ship that sat out there in the C2 log and came back in and wasn't up to snuff anymore. Who knows? I mean, we all know batteries are not always temperature dependent too, so who knows? But regardless of that, they should be able to get swapped and
Yeah.
no problem.
And none of the parts delays are a result of tariffs and things like that. I mean, a lot of what we're providing is excluded from the tariffs. So, that should not be an issue. It's just, there's some seasonality to it where you see spikes and valleys in the manufacturer's processes. And so, we're doing our best to cut that down.
All right. Well, thank you. That does give us some clarification on the issue. David.
So as far as parts, and this isn't batteries, we're just gonna use a specific thing, brakes. When I had an issue with my brakes, I had to get them replaced, and I have a Tylite chair, and I've had consistent issues over time for them in particular where they sit on an order for 3 to 5 days and they're just let the order sit and it doesn't get out, even when it's been asked to be expedited or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, I don't understand why this is happening. I don't know if there's any other manufacturers doing that, but have you had both companies? Have you had these conversations with Tylite in particular as an example? Why is it that they're sitting on orders for 3 to 5 days and delaying the entire process? Because that's causing, that 3 to 5 days is a lot, especially with brakes. I mean, you can't transfer in and out of your chair safely if your brakes are done. And so it's this big safety issue. What's being done? What are they communicating to you as far as these delays? Is it they don't have them? Are they just are they backed up? What's the problem? And what are they doing to fix it?
Yeah, from our standpoint, and it's when they say it, when we ask for something to be expedited, they mean they will ship it expedited. Doesn't mean, and a lot of times we can get them to jump it forward in the process. A lot of times they don't have the part. It's coming from one of their suppliers or what have you. And now wheel locks, brakes, that is a standard part. They should have it in stock. I was surprised, David, when we went through that, how long that took. But yes, we are talking with them. We're trying to get them to, to ship us more quickly. We're trying to get them to do stuff on a consignment basis with us, where they stock parts at our facilities, just like some car dealerships do. But that's a big conversation and a long conversation with some of these manufacturers.
They just need to get it done faster. I mean, it's like you said, standard part. It's an important part. It's a safety issue. In 3 to 5 days, it just seems like a lot, especially when you can just go online these days and order stuff and it's there within a day or two. And the other thing, I mean, I know it's on the other side of the country, I guess, like, aren't they located on the West Coast? But still, you can get things done quicker than, 3 to 5 days and not even acknowledge sometimes that you even have an order. I mean, anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we cut the PO, there is a little bit of a lag between the time it shows in their system. So, we're going to continue to work with them and cut days out of that part of the process.
I know in the past I did have a certain order that was put out there. There was a few different things, and I was like, you know what, I need tires and tubes still as well. And it was more of just an add-on, and we had the parts that I really required that came in, but with the PO to be fulfilled and shipped, you guys were waiting for the tubes and tires. I'm just saying, like, the distributor I was waiting to bill to have everything there, but I was like, oh, I didn't even really need the tubes or tires. So it was more kind of, we were waiting for something else when I wish I was just notified in the past. This is dating back a while back. I do think services have gotten better there, but I think knowing when things are brought from different companies or distributors, you guys typically have to wait for everything to be in your facility. Is that typical in your hands?
Well, I mean, I can't, I know you're a NSM client, but I'm going to speak for New Motion. I mean, we would prefer to make one trip out, or have you, if somebody's coming in, make one trip. But if there's an emergency and there's a part that's absolutely needed, we should split the order. That's what should be done. And we should fix what needs to be fixed right now.
Definitely. Appreciate that, Gary.
Yeah.
Lori, is
Yeah,
it-
we try to do that. If you do have that, it's just got to be make sure we're clear too. And also depending on the plan too, when they see that, they're going to say, why do you have a repair done so close together? Why didn't you capture it before? Sometimes we get pushback from plans on that. So just keep that in mind. So sometimes we try to get the approval for everything that goes into it. And if we split it, sometimes we can do that with the approval that we got if it's required. Just keep that in mind. We're not talking about Husky here or anything like that, but if your primary insurance, right? So, being that's what I do. If they get them split, sometimes they'll say, why did you do that? We're not going to approve the secondary then because you should have had it done on the first. So keep that in mind. So depending on how we come over with your repairs, if we have all those things listed, now they approve them all. Now we can split it, but we might hold off on do that. So there's things we can do, but if you have an emergent, you just have to say that and we'll put it in the system that way. But we also want to make sure we're compliant with the plans, how they come up. So that sometimes that's the other monkey wrench that we deal with. Not that often. A lot of times those are workarounds for that, but just as an FYI, Daryl.
So you've
Yeah,
gotten
definitely.
you've gotten the payer relations read on it. You got the operations read on it. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, I know there was a lot of dust collecting that one time, and it took several months.
Yeah.
So I haven't had that issue. I haven't had the issue recently. So thank you.
I mean, like we've got one. I'm sorry, just real quick. We've got one manufacturer, Albert, that's making a power add-on unit that we can't. It's 6 months out to get parts. I mean, that's some of the stuff we're having issues with.
Oh, I just had a quick question about repairs. I don't know if I can chime in right now, Maureen, about it, but
Please.
it's kind of for both of you. Is it possible, like say for instance, someone purchases a chair from New Motion or NSM, is it an option to get the repairs done by the other agency, or they have to only stay? Is it only commercially allowed, or how does that work? Because I've had some people ask questions about, I don't know how to answer it, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I mean,
you want to service what you sell. We're going to say that as
Right.
providers, right? I'm going to tell you that right now. If I sold you the chair, I better be frickin' servicing it. Now, the only time I'm going to pick up a New Motion chair and repair it, I'll say it right in front of Gary, he's going to say the same thing about NSM or anything else, is that for some reason you no longer are compliant. We don't have a contract with the payer, and we know the payers sometimes say, I'm not going to cover a repair with a non-in-network provider. We're going to make you go elsewhere. A lot of times I'll get calls and saying this client no longer is part of that. They're not on that agreement with the insurance plan. Can you please pick this up and service it? That's what's going to happen. The problem you're going to run into, and we're sticking to our guns on this as providers, because I know myself, we have become the dumping ground for scooters because no one else is doing them. And I can't keep taking everybody's scooters in the world because they didn't service what they sold, and they need to. We're addressing that on different levels, right? So when it comes into that, Becky, technically, the provider should be servicing what they sell, unless the client moved to the area is new, unless they lost their insurance coverage for that provider is no longer contracted with that insurance plan, and they'll ask and reach out. That's typically what happens, and that's typically when I pick up an NSM or vice versa, right? When we switch insurance plans, they no longer can do it. They'll go up and go from there. That happens quite a bit in certain markets. Like if I'm in Massachusetts, there's a certain insurance plan we don't have a contract with. So, contract, my other providers are going to have to pick it up because they asked that for the coverage, what have you. Now, what if I don't? A lot of times what I'll do if as an insurance plan doesn't have us in their network, I would ask to do a single case agreement to continue to service the client if I can. So it depends on those type of situations, Becky, but that's really where it comes down to.
So it's a provider choice or something, not necessarily an insurance issue of whether or not coverage will be handling it.
It's an insurance. It's
okay.
both.
Okay.
It's both.
All right. Excellent. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And that's pretty much what we do. And we will, we will service anything we sold. A little different. We no longer sell scooters, so we're fixing any scooter that we have sold. But if a customer comes to us and either has been terminated by another supplier or has a different payer that we are contracted with, we will talk with them about taking them on. But we have to find proof. We have to get proof that their chair got paid for by the insurance, because that changes the whole documentation requirements.
Super, thank you.
I know the advocates did want to bring up this topic as well. However, I do want to make sure Gary gets we get to discuss Gary's report. And it's almost noon time. So if Sheldon, was your question regarding this topic?
Yeah, it's a really important subject that Becky has raised, and I
Right.
didn't
So can
understand the
we,
answer. So yeah,
oh, you what? I'm sorry.
I did not understand the answer because I
Oh,
thought from what Diane was saying, it really is their choice, the choice of NSM, choice of new motion. It's not on insurance, because if insurance is going to pay both of them either way, then it sounds like what
No,
Diane. No, I'm saying
no,
It's not necessarily true.
no,
that's
no,
not
I'm saying
true.
no, I'm saying in a situation where insurance will pay either of you, assuming that situation, that is to say, the payer, the whatever commercial insurance or Medicaid, will pay either of you. I understood you to be saying in that situation, you're not going to service the product supplied by the other. And right, did I hear that correctly?
Well, yeah, Sheldon, I am not going to pick up. Let's talk about a provider that's no longer doing services in Connecticut because of this bill. Agawam. If you have Agawam as your provider, I want you to go back to Agawam and get your chair service, right? Because what is happening right now, and I'm going to defend both of us, Gary. Sorry, because I'm heated about this topic, because we are getting nailed in state by state for some of the stuff that's going on. We are getting, because we're supposedly the big bad nationals, we're being asked to pick up everybody's repairs now, right? That's not right, because you're dumping on us for stuff that is, I'm not going to take someone else's chair unless
I understand I understand your reasons. I'm just trying to ascertain what your policy is. And I'm saying, is your policy, and I understand the dumping by these, big fly by nights. I'm talking about you two. I'm talking about your policy right now is that, Diane, and same thing for Gary, you will not service the item provided by the other. We're not talking about these other fly by nights and whatever.
Yeah, I'm not going to service this unless we validate, because here's what's happening too, Sheldon, is we're seeing clients buying things online or other stuff, and then I'm finding out they're not even covered by the insurance plan later because they didn't pay for it to begin with. They're not approving the service and repair of it on the back end, and we're writing stuff off.
That's what I'm asking about. Let's be clear about what I'm asking
so
about.
I'm like,
No. You're saying, yeah, no, you're not understanding my question. I'm specifically talking about an item, an item that was supplied by New Motion and paid for by an insurer that you also contract with. Your policy is you will not service somebody who's really been frustrated with New Motion for a variety of reasons, whatever. And they say that I want to come to you, Diane. You will not service that product supplied by New Motion, and vice versa. Is that correct? Just as a policy matter.
That is what we're telling clients.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's your policy.
That's not correct for us, Sheldon. No, we have opened through COVID. We did only service chairs that we sold or equipment that we sold. And that was mostly for capacity reasons. We have opened it back up so that if somebody comes to us and we can validate that they have coverage, we can validate that their chair was paid for, then we will take them on if they choose to come to us. We're not out soliciting them to come to us, but if they choose to come to us, we will accept them.
Okay, no, thanks. So then you're saying you will service.
To be honest with you, we have done that in the past, like service whatever that comes to us. But because I'll be honest with you, Sheldon, ours has jumped significantly. And if you look at our numbers, it keeps jumping significantly. We have been called an awful lot. And so we have started screening, because I'll be honest with you, Sheldon, my repairs in the Northeast corridor from it's gone up a lot. And I don't know if that's just a good performance. I'm hoping that's what it is. But there's also a capacity issue that comes up to play. Now, do we say no to everybody? No, we will look at it and vet it and have questions about it. But we really want to know, how long have you had that chair? When did you get it? We're going to ask questions. And I'm not going to say differently, because I know we're screening. And I'm being 100% honest on this, but that's also why we're doing it.
Right.
We've had
I
a
just
lot of
want-
pickups. We've had a lot of pickups recently too.
Right.
So I know it is going, but I know we are asking that question up front.
All right. I just wanted to ascertain between the two companies, not third party, other suppliers, between you two, there's a position that, Diane, you will not service the new motion product where insurance will cover either of you, whereas Gary will.
It's going to be such, well, we have taken them on though, Sheldon. I say that,
occasion.
but we are screening, and I know they're asking those questions. And we've had people say, I absolutely don't want to go back, and then we're vetting it to that point. I'm like, well, where are you at in this cycle? Where are you at with this, right? And so we have take people on. It's not like it's a hard no, but we are, I mean, honest, you are going to ask those questions. So if you call me right now in my branch, they're going to say, hey, we don't have you registered in our system. Where are you from? Where's your chair? Where did you have it? Can you vet it out? Can you help me understand? And then depending what's going on, they may take it, they may not. But I know we're screening those questions. We're asking those questions.
Great. Thanks. Well, I'm sure that we'll have a recommendation related to this. Thank you.
Okay, so we really need to get to Gary's report. It's noontime. I'm gonna suggest no more than 10 minutes. And then we'll have only a little bit to talk about recommendations. But go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, I can be brief. We've talked about a lot of this stuff already. I mean, we had a good month in September. We spiked up to about 95.6% in the aggregate. Our in the home service is 97% of the orders at this point, or it was for September. As far as our staffing, and I'm sure Sheldon wants to hear this, we have added another tech in October, so that if you looked on my summary sheet, we had total 19 techs. We now have 20 techs, and this is an on-the-road tech who will be fully on the road. So our October capacity will be at 9.1. We have, as we already discussed, seen a spike in manufacturer turnaround times. That's not changing our reported numbers. And again, our way of handling that is by stocking more parts, by making sure we have the ability to deliver more quickly once the determination is made on need. I know there's some question about the front end on our timeliness in conducting the assessment and how did we get to compliance when we did that. There are a lot of different reasons for that. One being, I think probably it was tougher in our catching our evaluations, identifying when the chair was available and the customer availability. So there's some variance in that. Whereas we've been able to find out, as we did the deliveries, our system identifies that more easily. But we're also, again, taking days out by not having to wait for quotes because we're stocking the parts. Not having to check the parts in and receive them. That's another day. So that helps us get to the overall compliance. Again, our data is, it's a manual pull. It's we're trying to automate it. I know Diane's is automated, and we have to manually go through and look at a lot of these orders. So we're doing our best to get this as clean as possible. And, but even if you look at our aggregate numbers, the way we track our compliance is what's called intake to completion. And we've taken 2 days out of that process. We're at 26 26 calendar days on the median right now for our I2C, which is down about 8 days year over year. So we are getting better. Now, I know, we've talked previously about our inbound call scripts and things like that. What I will do is go back and talk with our teams again. Our policy has been to offer in shop as the primary option. I've had conversations with other people personally on this call, and I've made the commitment to go back and try and work on our scripts so that, if the person on the initial call says I'm not coming in, that we don't press them on it. I will be happy to go back and say if we can do something along the lines of what NSM is doing, which is offer the options. That's not a decision I'm going to be able to make unilaterally. I have to talk to our folks back in, but I understand that's a point of contention, and it's something I'm willing to have a conversation about. We are improving every single day. And, I feel like we've been more responsive. I think anybody who has dealt with me knows that, I'm committed to making this work out and get better every day. I also am trying to take myself out of the process as much as possible so that our people get better, so they know when things are not going right and they're doing better by our customers. So, I'll stop there for some questions. I'm sure there are some.
10 minutes. Okay, David.
I'm glad that Gary's saying he's going to go back and talk to whoever he needs to talk to about changing the script. I really think it's kind of I think it's important that you just tell people, even though if they know or not, because some people don't. And we just heard a couple stories from Becky that you got maybe someone who just doesn't know, and there's confusion, it just causes problems, and then we have half-hour discussions about it, and it's just like we just move on from this and just change the script. Say, listen, use neutral language. How would you like, where would you like your chair repaired? Home or shop. Just change it, simple change, and then we can move on from this.
I hear you, David, and you and I had a call about this a while back, and I have gone back, and we were supposed to soften the script. I'll be honest with you, I have not made an inbound call recently, so I can't tell you what the script sounds like right now. But I will take that back and try and get it softened.
No, they still do it. I mean, I've experienced it. They still push the when can you come in? And again, I think let's just get this done and move on, because I just feel like we spent a lot of time on this and it's unnecessary.
Okay, Sheldon, go ahead.
Yeah. So to clarify on this, it was correctly noted in the minutes. We discussed this at length last time, and there was a specific ask to you, Gary, and the minutes say, I'll read them. I requested, it says, that the call center staff be trained to always inform Connecticut callers of both in-home and in-shop service options. Number one. Number two, that the Rocky Hill website be updated to clearly display the in-home service option, because right now it only refers to the in-shop. And so basically, you've had a month to get back with the answers on this. And when you say, oh, I have to go back and talk to our people, you were asked to do that a month ago. And basically,
and I did, Sheldon. I did. And the answer was,
what's the answer?
The answer is we're not changing the website right yet, and I'm going to push for that. I can go back and I'm not the absolute decision maker here, so I'm reporting what we're doing, and I will do whatever is in my power to get it to where you guys are more comfortable with it.
Okay, so and just to be clear, so there's no ambiguity. It's not just that if you first offer in shop only, and only if they push back, then you tell them. That's not the ask. The ask is not to stop doing that. We want you to stop doing that for sure, but that's not the ask. The ask is
I'm clear on what the ask is, Sheldon. I'm clear. I'm clear.
Okay. All right, that's all I say. I just want to make sure you understand. That's what we're going.
Yeah. Okay. I'm clear.
Thank you. And then unrelated, on the numbers, you said that 97% are in home. That includes though the remote. It's 3 categories. It's in home.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So excuse me. 85% is in the home. 12 is done remotely, which means it's done over the phone. So it's theoretically in home.
Right. I understand.
Okay.
But the categorization.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the customer doesn't have to come to us. We've done it.
The other thing is Joe has his hand up, so I don't know what he's going to ask, but he in the past has asked and it's not been answered. But I'm just staring at this, and honestly, it makes no sense to me. Your numbers say that your average for in-home repair, your average for conducting an assessment is 7 days. I mean, that, to actually go out or whatever, however it's done.
That's calendar days. Days. It's 5 business days. Okay.
Right. So that's clear, it's 7 days. And then under number 6, to complete the repair is on average 7 days.
This is an aggregate because the number of ones that get done in one day now, because we have, you know, parts in stock and, you know, we're pre-ordering parts and things like that. And because it's not a linear process. So you know, you can question my numbers all you want. I'm going to stand by.
I don't understand it. What I'm trying to say is I'm just completely confused. If on average it takes, you agree with me that assessment is done first, and sometimes you can fix it right away. Other times you usually have to order parts and somebody has to come out and do the repair and stuff. You would agree that in general, the repair cannot be completed before the assessment's done. And in general, it takes some time, not always, but it takes some time between the assessment and the completion of the repair, right? Logic. Is that fair?
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. And what I'm saying is the way we're capturing this data, I don't think it speaks true to the process. And so I'm going to, you know, I went back and I talked to the people that pull the data for me. And as we go back and we look order by order, you know, in the aggregate, we're compliant to the numbers we're saying. So you know,
I just don't understand.
I know we're getting better, and the desire here is that we're getting better, right?
Right.
Is that not the desire?
Well, there's a question though, because I don't understand the numbers. If it's taking you the same average amount of time to actually complete the repair as to do the average time to do the first step in the repair, that logic doesn't work. I mean, there has to be some extra time on average to complete the repairs, right? It just doesn't make sense. But if you don't have an answer for that, you don't have an answer.
Answer for that. So all I can tell you is, you know, what I know about the process and the days we've taken out of the process, you know, this lines up pretty well in the aggregate. So let me go back and find out the individual buckets and what they why there's that variance. My goal is to get better, and that's what we're doing.
And just to be clear, it's not that there's a variance, it's that there's no variance, and the lack of a variance makes no sense. But anyway, thank you.
Joe, do you still have a question?
No, I'm gonna move on to the recommendations we're getting.
Oh, okay. David, we just have
Last thing, yeah. I think there was a desire for both companies to have their reports to be done the exact same way. So is that something we can get done where the reports can new motions be the same as Diane's? Can we do that? I
Are you
guess there
talking
was,
about the summary that I do?
I think it was Sheldon, you want to talk about the specific or no?
I mean, because technically the bill requires the report form that we have. I
Yeah.
just do as a courtesy the summary, just explaining how the numbers look that way for people. It's not required. And that is just out of courtesy to give data points. But technically, I don't have to do that. I just do that. And what's technically required is the reporting form.
I mean,
Form is
appreciate
consistent.
that. We do appreciate that, and particularly on the total number of repairs and the staffing. I mean, those are, you know.
I provided that. I don't know what's different.
No,
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm saying we appreciate that, and you know, I mean, it doesn't make sense either there because you'd have about the same number of repairs and one person has twice the number of staff than the other, so it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we do appreciate your reporting the other things that are not required under the law very much.
Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left to talk about recommendations. I know there's been some overlap, so we've talked about some of the things that concern us. I know Diane brought up one of her recommendations. No. Go ahead. Oh,
All right, so I'm just gonna throw this out there. I know how much we love seeing each other. And we've got a short session coming up. We had discussed it, the possibility of adding some more meetings in so that we can get this over and done with. Um, I don't know about your availability, Gary, Diane. Um, if we can do this on a weekly basis and get it over and done with, then that would be great. If you guys have any other ideas, just because, I mean, granted, this meeting went a little bit longer. But if we can get these recommendations over and done with, the sooner the better. And what's your thoughts on that?
Depending on what the schedule is and what the recommendations are, I don't know exactly how long and what we're all thinking of.
I mean, ideally once a week, meeting, every other possibly, and because it is coming up quick.
I know for myself with my schedule, I am out 2 weeks in November. There's two-week sessions. I'll be traveling and it'll be challenges for me because I'll be in DC.
Okay.
I don't know about Gary's schedule. I mean,
I would be
depending
challenging.
what day of the week and what times, that's what's going to dictate availability.
We could do some sort of a doodle poll and see what the availability is for other people. See what the best is going to work.
Diane, do you know which 2 weeks are they consecutive weeks?
Yeah, I'm in DC Tuesday, Wednesday, the 11th and 12th, and then the following 18th and 19th. So, and then the following week you're going to go into Thanksgiving, which I know a lot of people take time off. So, just being respectful of that. I'm not. I mean, I'll be working, but
I mean, I'd be challenged. I'd be challenged to do weekly meetings. I mean, every other week. And look, I'm not a member. I'm not a formal member here. I'm an invited guest,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to, communicate with Diane along the way and, report out as the industry, but don't use me as your leverage point here for scheduling.
Okay, Sheldon?
Yeah, I'm just putting this all together. That I just heard that Diane's out for 2 weeks and then there's Thanksgiving. Maybe we can meet that week early in the week. But it sounds like 3 weeks are out and we've got to produce the report at the end. And we don't want Maureen and Jonathan to be working over Christmas week. And
We don't want to ask for an extension if we don't have to.
Oh, we don't want to do that either, right? So just working backwards, if in the next, basically, we've got to get it done in the next 6 weeks, and 2 of them are not available, then it seems we have to meet every week for those other weeks, or I think we're gonna need the 4 meetings.
yeah, it just depends on what day of the week that can work for people, though, and that's always been the challenge for this group. It seems like.
Well, it
But the
seems to
doodle idea.
me if it's not too much of a burden for everyone to get their recommendations in for next week. And then we're thinking of doing it the same way as we did last year at Becky. What we put forth our recommendations, and then John sent out a Google poll, and everyone put in their responses to the recommendations. And so I think, if I'm correct, John, we want to give at least 2 weeks for that because agencies, they have to go back to their people, their teams, and to make sure that they're giving the proper response.
Correct. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we would ideally want to put the Google form out for probably 2 weeks. Again, in particular, to give the state agencies time to go back to OPM and if there's any budgetary considerations and things to consider. Yeah. So we would want to get recommendations from everybody as soon as possible so that that form could be submitted to everyone at large, uh, because we compile that information to put into the final report anyway.
And so if we have the recommendations, if we can get them in by next week, does that seem feasible? I mean, it's really the industry and the advocates. I don't know if Becky, you would have anything, the other agencies, I don't know.
Yeah, so as far as vacation time, I'm out next week. So I'm opposite of Diane, but I'm out for the whole week until the day. So that I return the next Tuesday of the next week. But I'm amenable to meeting as much as we need to be. I can tweak my schedule around that. So, and now, did OHA send in recommendations as well, or before, or we just kind of responded, right? That's pretty much how it was in the
Yeah.
past. Okay, but we contributed. So would that be something that you'd want me to contribute to and be part of the meetings and give feedback and all? Okay, I'm definitely open to that. Definitely.
You still, if you um OHA's been a little more involved now with the line be, you're getting calls and stuff. So if you do have any recommendations, we definitely would be open to hearing them.
Okay.
David.
I was going to suggest that maybe we extend the meeting longer. If maybe if we could do that, that might help. Just so if we're having day schedule issues, but we could extend the time, we should consider it.
Done.
I was just going to add, Maureen, very quickly, if we can get the Google form out before Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
well before Thanksgiving, we have a much better shot of getting comments from everybody, again, particularly the state agencies, because higher likelihood people will be around, OPM will be around, vacations and things being considered. So again, I just stress, the sooner the better that we can get everyone's recommendations in, and I can get that form compiled, the better off we'll all be in terms of getting this done, the report done sooner than later.
So if we get this in by next week, then that would give you time.
Yeah,
And then,
if I get things by next week, I can get the form out, by the end of the week, end of next week, and then that gives people, because what, a week from now is the 5th. So if we get
Yep.
recommendations by the 5th, but if we need to have a meeting to discuss the recommendations, then we need to talk about that. That would mean meeting next week.
Yeah. And Sheldon.
Yeah, I didn't understand what you were saying, John, because if you're going to give people till the 5th to respond, then, I mean, to not respond, to give their recommendation, or again, these are proposed recommendations, they're not recommendations.
Right.
So then they have to be discussed, but it'd be too late to meet next week to review what was submitted. So we'd have to meet the week after.
Right. I'm talking that through, Sheldon. I'm trying to sort of, I'm trying to reverse engineer everything.
I mean, right. So here's one option is we would, the 5th is not unreasonable. It's a week from today, but then if we could meet at the end of the week, is that, I mean, with a doodle, I mean, we have to do a doodle. I think there's no way we're going to do this otherwise, but to see if there's a time that could, I know we just heard Becky's not going to be available, but if this is not final voting, this would be just an opportunity for people, as I understand it, tell me if I'm wrong, but from what it sounds like you're discussing is that people would submit their proposed recommendations, that people have a chance to review it, then there'd be a meeting, and then there'd be the open discussion on all the recommendations. And maybe that, to David's point, maybe that meeting has to be 2 hours, because depends how many recommendations there are and how much discussion and all that. But we have that discussion. We're not voting that day. And then
no, we wouldn't be voting that day. We would just
Yeah.
we would be having the open discussion. Right. My recollection of how we did it we had an open discussion of all the recommendations. Then we put them in the Google form for everybody to comment on so that we would have all of that data for the final report.
Right. I'm just thinking about meetings, and I'm saying that it sounds like we definitely need one meeting at least to just have people open discussion, and then
On the recommendations.
right, and then
Yep.
probably there'll be questions, and people will want. I mean, as I recall last time, people had questions about what are you saying, whatever. People came back, and then there was a second meeting, and then a third meeting, to actually vote. So
To vote on the final report, correct.
right, although I can't remember how last time was there a final vote on the actual completed document? Is that what it was?
Yes,
Okay,
there
but
was.
that puts a burden on you guys though, because then you actually have to have the thing done before if we did it that way.
Well, but we have a frame. We've got a written report from last year. We have a framework, and we're following a similar process. So I mean, we're not creating it from scratch this time.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to say it's going to be any easier, but I think it'll be a little bit easier because we've got a framework, and some of what we'll put in there is going to be, just the plugged in data from this year, the plugged in recommendations and everyone's comments from this year. So some of it will be easier, but again, like I said, a lot of it stems from getting the recommendation. The big piece of this was that sort of that 2-week window that we gave everybody to provide comments on the recommendation. So the earlier that we can get to that, the quicker I think everything will move along.
So what do people think about the idea of meeting again? We'll do a doodle for actual dates at work, but the idea of meeting at the end of next week after people have submitted their comments by the 5th, their proposed recommendations.
I think, yeah, but we'll have to see what the doodle poll says.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we need to do the doodle poll and figure out what our schedules are and time on those
And
days.
could I be clear on the 2 weeks Diane said she's out?
I'm just out those Tuesday, Wednesdays. So
Oh,
it's 11,
Tuesdays.
12, and the following, yeah, and but keep in mind, my calendar's full all the time,
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure. But but
Yeah.
it could be other days that week then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Oh,
like
okay,
Friday,
great.
I can meet next Friday if need be. I know that's not always a good day for people, but I need to get with Gary in the industry too, to get feedback on stuff for our comments, so.
Yeah, so
But yeah.
Diane, is that enough time for you? Because I know you're representing the industry.
Yeah, it's just a matter of me getting in and be able to get the notes over of what our recommendations or suggestions are.
By the way, I have a completely inappropriate idea, which is I wanted to ask the industry to think about, and that is, the advocates still feel strongly that there needs to be enforcement of the 10 days, that, not surprisingly. But a question, what about, and I'm not asking you to answer it now, although you could, what about the idea of also a reward system? Like if you do really well, there's incentives. I think Massachusetts does something like this. I don't know, but I don't know if that's something the industry would consider.
No, I think that the key thing is just don't add more. And we don't get the reimbursement that we need to begin with. So at this point, it's even with what the incentives that Mass Health is giving, is challenges with how it's set up and that. So it's not as what everyone thinks it is right now. I just don't add more, Gary. Don't add more. And I do have to apologize, guys. I am late for another call. But we'll give our feedback and by next Wednesday, and we'll have a discussion. So send out the doodle poll. I'll try to make sure accommodate as many different option times, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I'll make for a meeting as well. Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, so it looks like we're gonna send out the doodle poll, and everyone should get their recommendations to us. I'll follow up with Diane by the 5th, and sending that to John and Brian and me. And I will take a motion to adjourn if we do not have anything else.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. I second it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, Maureen. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Take care. Thanks, guys.